Hello, my name is Shaivi, and today I'm going to be presenting my evaluation on Brave Leo and its effect on cryptocurrency investment research. So first of all, I'm going to start off with my research brief and basic evaluation of like what Brave Leo AI is. Then I'll go into like my experimental investigation where I tested the effect of different task types and prompt types on like the outputs of Brave Leo AI and how it would be helpful in investment-based standpoint. Then I'll go to my application design proposal where I'll say like how you can improve Brave Leo and how it could be integrated into like the workflow. And last but not least, I'll go over like its impact and like my overall conclusions. So first of all, investment research requires analyzing really fast-moving information and a large amount of information in the market. The market is always changing and there's a lot of like information flow. So it involves understanding like context and identifying risks and interpreting a lot of market drivers. And crypto makes this even like crypto has even more data, so it makes it like even more like fast-moving and fast-paced. So Bravely AI is basically marketed as a research assistant capable of helping analyze content and summarize content. So I want to check if it actually like performs well in investor style tasks. Another thing is that the main objective of this project was to evaluate how like the task type really influences the AI output quality and how like the tool could be improved for practical investment use because it could work in other uses, but we have to check if it works in the investment standpoint. So what is Bravelio? Bravelio is basically integrated as a privacy-focused browser and it's designed to synthesize information from documents, web pages, and more. It attempts to like generate structured insights instead of just links. So when you're reading the document, it'll give you insights on the side, and you can also put like summarize prompts or analyze prompts into the document. Another thing that makes it appealing for investors is that it can make really quick summaries, analyses that can help you do your initial research. But like AI systems always like combine document information with outside information. So we need to check how reliable and transparent these outputs like actually are. So basically what I did for my method is I tested four different task types: summarization, analysis, comparison, and recommendation. And each task used similar like question types and like similar document, the same AI version and the same session to keep the conditions like consistent. I measured the performance using four different types of like sections, categories, like accuracy, depth, usefulness, bias, and hallucinations. And these metrics are chosen because they reflect what investors actually like, care about, not just like correctness or like correctness of the data, but how helpful and reliable the information would be for decision making. And this is my rubric that I used, and like it's from 1 to 5, where 5 is like the most bias or the most usefulness, and 1 is the least. So basically, my research question guiding this experiment was how does task type affect Brave Leo's output quality on investment documents? And since the summarization was one of the like tool's main advertised features, my hypothesis is that like summarization would produce the strongest results. And part of the purpose of this project was to test whether like this is actually true and whether the tool actually holds up to its expectations that it was like advertised as. So basically, my results are this question that I asked for the summary is summarize this document in a clear and concise way, capturing key points and main ideas. And basically, with the summary, it used a lot of the key like document titles and used lot of the document head titles, which caused like the information not to be fully clear. And like without having a little bit of background information, it was kind of hard to understand what like was going on. Another thing is that it was like really shallow and not like deep. So it was like surface level like summarization and didn't really help understand what the actual like goal was. The analysis was a lot more in-depth and a lot more like helpful for investors because it actually showed like key investment opportunities and risks, which are like what investors are looking for. And the prompt I used for this one was analyze the risk and opportunities of this document based of this document, provide a balanced and investment focused assessment. So basically what I was trying to do is like make it for investment, and the analysis was a lot better. It was also a lot deeper. The issue I found with this is that it was using outside sources, but it wasn't citing these outside sources. So you don't know where the information is coming from or if it's credible or not. The comparison was also a lot stronger than the summarization and had a similar level to the analysis. And the question I used is compare crypto to competitors based on the information in the document, identify similarities, differences, and relative strengths. And the issue I found with this is that even though I said information on the document, it still used outside sources because some of the information present wasn't part of the document. but it still used outside sources, and I was able to like identify those, and which caused like them not to know like which sources are actually like, credible and which ones are actually helpful. And this is last but not least, I have the recommendation, and it's like based on the information on the document, provide an investment recommendation and explain why. And basically, when it did this, it showed a lot of like overconfidence, and it wasn't able to like fully explain like why and fully like in depth be like this is why. And it was really overconfident in its recommendation, causing people to believe like this is the only way to go and there's like no other options. So basically, this is like a bar chart that shows accuracy, summarization, analysis, and comparison. So in accuracy, it showed like summarization was the most accurate because it actually used like document information and it didn't take from outside sources, but it was the least useful because it didn't really give enough in-depth information to understand the document, or it didn't give enough like investor style focus to the document. And the analyzation and comparison were actually the most useful and the most helpful because these were the actual like prompts that were investor focused and investor like styled with like less bias in the recommendation. So key findings overall is that the summarization was too shallow and too surface level and didn't really help investors. Analysis and comparison were a lot more structured, had a lot more depth, and it connected outside documents like market trends and other trends on the market. But the only issue is that it used outside sources and it was kind of misleading, and it didn't cite those sources that it used on the outside. So you couldn't really like know where you got this information from. And the recommendation had the same issues, but it was more overconfident and had innate bias from outside sources. So overall, there was a key trade-off that emerged. When there was more depth, there was a higher risk of external or unclear sourcing. And when there's higher accuracy, it was simpler, but the outputs were a lot less like helpful. And the overall implication is that like AI insights must be separated into like document-based evidence and like external interpretation, because you need to know the difference when it's from the outside and when it's from like the document itself. And some improvements that I'd want to propose is like to the problems of like weak contextual summaries, blended internal and external information, and overconfident recommendation. The proposed summaries would be like adding more background information into like summaries. So you get like a paragraph that's defining terms and that's actually defining what the like issues or like the overall summary is about. And then before diving in, and like the next thing for blended external internal information, like transparent source separation. So separating like what each source is saying and like having like a bibliography or like something that's citing at the end. Another thing that could help with the blended internal and external information is having just a finance focused model or just an academic focused model, so that you know that these sources are verified by actual professionals. So you don't have to like check these sources yourself. And like how it would fit into like the investment workflow is it would be like using the analysis and comparison prompts for really early insights. And it would be like the very first analyzation stage. So before like anyone you actually get really deep into it, it would you would like use it to like do the first like the initial reading. And like you should still conduct like human verification before decisions, because like the AI isn't always like 100% right, and it hallucinates and it uses outside information. So basically, the role of the AI should be like to accelerate research and be like a research helper, not to like replace human judgment. The expected benefits are like I estimated would be like about a 30 to 50% reduction in like early research time, and like a faster identification of risks and opportunities, especially in the analysis and comparison. As you can see in like the previous photos, there was like a risk section and an opportunity section. It also would improve the discovery of market trends because AI is really good at identifying patterns, because that's how it's made. So it's really good at identifying patterns and like finding market trends. But something that's still required in this workflow is like human validation, bias awareness, and source verification. The source verification could be like fixed if these like are more tightly put into like, oh, this source is like from here. And overall, like the AI is really strong at the analysis and comparison sectors, while it's weak at standalone summaries. It should be a helpful assistant and not like a standalone decision maker. And like the overall takeaway is that it should support investors, not just replace human judgment. So the final say should still be humans. Thank you. Okay, so crypto is basically like decentralized like finance. So like banks and stuff are like where you keep all your money and stuff, but crypto is like there's like a blockchain business where like all of your in like transactions are recorded in it. So crypto's a lot more secure, and only like you and the person that you're exchanging with can actually like look into it and see what transactions you've made. So there's a lot more like recording of what's happening in crypto. And a way to like really look at like crypto investment, I think, is like a lot of analyzation of data. Because like crypto, you can tell by like more popular crypto like Bitcoin, but like the market changes really fast in crypto and it's like 24/7. So it's not like, oh, crypto is gonna like it's not like from a 9 to 5, like how the normal market is. It's like 24/7 changing. So there has to be like a lot of like market like evaluation and stuff. Something I'm going to say about like AI is that it was like built off of analyzing patterns. So it's really good at analyzing how like the patterns are connected, even though like if humans can't see the pattern in the market trends, the AI can usually see it. Especially if you put in like a crypto like document, let's say I put in document about like Bitcoin, it can use like the market trend that has like based on that document and based on like the actual market to connect patterns that are usually not like seen by someone who's not experienced in that section.